My name is Daniel Torres, and today I want to share my story. The day my own son told me I wasn't welcome in his home for the holidays, I made a decision that changed everything. When he said I wouldn't be invited for Christmas, I stopped paying the mortgage. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and share in the comments where you're watching from. I was sitting on Miguel's leather couch, talking about making my turkey with the sage stuffing Elena used to love, when he shifted in his seat. His shoulders drew in like he was bracing for a hit. "Dad, you won't be coming here this year." It landed like a punch. "Why not?" I asked. Miguel stared at the marble coffee table I'd bought him last spring. "Clarissa's parents are visiting. They'd prefer you not be here. It's easier this way. You know their traditions." I looked around the living room. Silk curtains, hardwood floors, crown molding, all paid for with my money. Through the kitchen archway sat the high-end stand mixer Clarissa swore she needed, bought with $2,000 of mine, barely used. "And where should I go instead?" I asked quietly. "Maybe Aunt Teresa's. Or we could do something the weekend after." Miguel mumbled. The weekend after. Like the holiday could be moved around for convenience. I stood, walking past family photos where my face grew smaller in each frame. At the door, I said without turning, "Tell her parents, Merry Christmas," in their own language. The cold air hit as I walked to my truck. Miguel called my name once before the door closed for good. I sat behind the wheel, watching festive lights glow in windows I'd never stepped through. My phone buzzed. Likely Miguel, ready with excuses. I drove off instead. Westridge Hills passed by, every corner a reminder of the man I once was, the fool who thought family meant giving until you had nothing left. At Main and Oak, I watched a father load gifts into his car, his kids fogging the glass with excitement. Once that was us, before Clarissa, before I became nothing more than a bank with feelings. $3,000 every month for 5 years, about $150,000, more than Elena and I had saved for retirement. Gone. On Pine Street, I remembered refinancing my home to cover their down payment. On Maple Avenue, taking out a second mortgage when Miguel lost his job. Clarissa stood behind him with a designer bag, nodding, calculating my worth. I pulled into my driveway. Concrete cracked, porch light flickering. Repairs I'd put off to fund their perfect life. Inside, the house was silent without Elena's laughter. The phone rang. Clarissa's name lit the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Daniel," she said in that sugar-coated tone she used when asking for money. "I heard about the little misunderstanding with Miguel." "Misunderstanding?" I leaned against the counter, coat still on. "I think you made your position clear, Clarissa." "You've made yourself very clear," I told her. "Daniel, I know it sounds harsh, but you need to understand. My parents are traditional. They expect a certain atmosphere." "What kind of atmosphere?" I asked. She paused, and I heard shopping bags rustle. "They're not used to your style of cooking, spicy food, loud music, and honestly, they're educated people. They like talking about art, literature, and current events." 8 years of swallowing insults for Miguel's sake came rushing back. "You mean the meals you devoured every Sunday when money was tight? The tamales you said tasted like your grandmother's?" Her tone hardened. "This isn't about race, it's about class. My father graduated with honors from Northern Plains University. My mother speaks 4 languages. They spend summers at an exclusive coastal resort. What would you bring to the table? Stories about laying tile?" I kept my voice even. "I built a business from nothing, employed over 50 people, and paid more in taxes than your father's best year. Money isn't everything. Breeding matters, education matters, and frankly, Elena blended in better than you ever have." The air went still. "What did you just say about my wife?" She knew her place. She didn't stir trouble. She stayed quiet in rooms that weren't meant for her. "Elena carried more grace in a day than your family ever will." "Oh, please. She was just a house cleaner who got lucky." My voice dropped cold. "We're done pretending to be family." She tried to protest, but I ended the call. Setting the phone down, I felt the kitchen grow lighter, as if something toxic had left with her voice. I went to my desk and pulled out the folder I'd avoided for months. Bank statements, mortgage papers, 5 years of $3,000 transfers draining me dry. By year 3, I'd stopped buying clothes. By year 5, I was living on peanut butter sandwiches. Over $175,000 gone, not counting the down payment, repairs, and endless emergencies. Elena's life insurance, my retirement, the grandkids' college fund, vanished into a house I wasn't welcome in. I called my bank. I need to cancel an automatic transfer, I told the rep. $3,000 monthly to National Trust Bank for 5 years? She asked. Cancel it, effective immediately. It's done, sir. Anything else? No, I said, and it felt good. Outside, the winter night settled over Riverbend. Lights glowed in windows where families gathered without judgment. For the first time in years, I could afford to live my own life, gain. I fed the papers to the fireplace. 5 years of sacrifice turned to ash, warming my face in a way nothing else had in a long time. My phone buzzed. It could have been Miguel or Clarissa. I didn't bother looking. I didn't check the text. Instead, I opened the good whiskey I'd been saving for years and poured a glass. Tonight felt like the right occasion. I lifted it toward Elena's photo on the mantel and to the man I was becoming. Here's to my own Christmas, I said aloud. The next morning was bright and cold. Sunlight streamed through my kitchen as I enjoyed my second cup of coffee. No mental math about bills for the first time in years. Freedom tasted better than the premium Colombian roast I'd finally allowed myself to buy. At 10:47 a.m., Clarissa's name flashed on my phone like a warning. Daniel, she said, sharp and impatient. I need you to pick up my parents from Riverbend Airport. Their flight gets in at 2. I set my mug down slowly. Did you forget what we discussed yesterday? This is different. My parents need a ride, and you're free. That's what family does. Her tone hardened. Let's be honest. You're too weak to be my rival, so just pick them up. What airline? I asked calmly. Western Skies, Flight 822, Carousel 3, and wear something decent. Maybe the blue shirt from Miguel's graduation. Don't embarrass us. She hung up without thanks. I noted the time, 10:52, and poured another coffee. The crossword waited. 7 across, delayed gratification. I'd find the answer later. By 2:15 p.m., I was in my armchair with Earl Grey and the Northwest Chronicle. Crossword finished. The phone buzzed. Clarissa. I let it ring. The afternoon sun warmed the room I'd spent too many years alone in. But now the quiet felt earned. By 3:30, the phone had rung 6 times. I'd brewed more tea and organized my junk drawer. The 7th call came from an unknown number, likely her parents. I ignored it too. Outside, neighbors strung lights while their kids ran circles in the yard. Normal life. By 4:15, the buzzing was relentless. I unplugged the landline and powered off my cell. Silence. I made grilled cheese and tomato soup, the kind I hadn't had in months because my grocery money had been feeding someone else's lifestyle. Across town, 3 people were likely arguing over a taxi fare and my audacity. My soup tasted better. At 5 o'clock, I'd eaten, cleaned up, and was ready to pick a movie when pounding rattled my front door. Not a knock. Furious, heavy blows. Through the peephole, I saw 3 shapes crammed on my porch like predators. I opened the door to find Henry Lawson's flushed face inches from mine. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he barked, pushing past me. "We waited at that damn airport for over 3 hours." Margaret Lawson stormed in behind him, hair out of place, voice tight. "This is barbaric behavior for someone your age." Clarissa followed, coat wrinkled, makeup smudged. "You humiliated us. My parents had to take a taxi because you—" "Enough," I said, my voice cutting through them like a blade. Henry's face darkened from red to purple. "You don't get to make demands here, old man. Not after what you pulled." "This is my house," I said evenly, standing my ground. "And I want you out." Margaret stepped forward, her voice dripping with long-practiced superiority. "Daniel, you don't realize the size of your mistake. My husband has deep business and social ties in this city. You can't treat people like us this way and expect—" "This was a lesson," I cut in, locking eyes with her. "A lesson in arrogance and how you treat people you think are beneath you." Clarissa's mouth twisted. "A lesson? Why, what do you think you are? You're nobody. I'm someone who finally stopped being your bank account and chauffeur." I opened the door wider. "Lesson's over. Leave." Henry jabbed a finger toward me but didn't touch. "You have no idea who you're up against. I've been here longer than you've been alive. I know people who can make your life miserable. Is that a threat?" "It's a promise," he said lowly. "You think you can abandon elderly people at an airport and walk away? You'll see the consequences." Margaret's smile was thin and sharp. "And they'll be very public." Clarissa tugged at her father's arm. "Daddy, let's just go. He's pathetic." They filed out like a retreating army. At the door, Henry turned back. "You'll regret this." The deadbolt clicked behind them. Through the window, I watched their rental car disappear into the winter night, their argument still visible in their gestures. The house felt cleaner without them, though their parting words echoed. Public consequences, connections. 3 days later, coffee in hand, I froze at the sight of my own face in the Northwest Chronicle. The headline screamed, "Riverbend businessman abandons elderly couple during holiday storm." The photo was years old, pulled from my company's site. The article painted Henry and Margaret Lawson as stranded victims left in frigid weather when it had been mild and sunny. Quotes described my erratic behavior and concerning mental state, making me out to be some unprovoked villain. No mention of the holiday dinner ban, Clarissa's demands, or 5 years of financial bleeding. Byline, Linda Carver, lifestyle editor. I didn't know her, but I knew the move. I opened my laptop, searched Henry, Margaret, and Clarissa, social profiles, connections, habits, weaknesses. If they wanted to play chess, I'd show them a master. 7 days until the winter celebration. 7 days to deliver a message they'd never forget. For the next 3 days, I lived in another world, the one where I was Daniel Torres, strategist, not the man they walked over. My laptop became my war table. Henry, retired regional bank executive, Riverbend Country Club member, treasurer of the Pacific Regional Business Network. A man with a spotless image and a lot to lose. Margaret's social media was a gallery of charity luncheons, wine tastings, and seaside retreats, every caption tagged "Living the Dream." Margaret's posts were polished perfection, charity galas, resort vacations, expensive wine tastings, comments praising her taste and inspiring lifestyle. All of it funded by other people, mine included. Clarissa's page told the truth. Photos of our home, the kitchen I paid for, check-ins at upscale restaurants during months I covered their bills, a post just last week. "So excited for holiday dinner with family. Can't wait to show off our hosting skills. Our hosting skills. Our house. Our success." Then Miguel's LinkedIn gave me the missing piece. He'd just connected with Linda Carver, the Northwest Chronicle editor who wrote the hit piece on me. A quick search confirmed 3 shared contacts between Henry and her boss. That article hadn't been luck. It was planted. They'd made 3 fatal mistakes: underestimated me, taken the fight public, and documented their entire fake success online. I started building a timeline. 5 years of bank transfers, receipts, and proof of every dime I'd given them. $47,000 for the down payment for my home equity loan. $18,000 for the kitchen Clarissa had to have. 60 mortgage payments of $3,000 each. Over $225,000, not counting G repairs, furniture, and emergencies. By evening, a manila folder sat thick on my table. Statements, photos, the newspaper story annotated with my notes calling out each lie. On my calendar, the winter celebration was circled, not for the holiday, but as the day for justice. According to Clarissa's event page, they'd be hosting 12 guests. Friends, family, neighbors. The perfect audience for truth. Holiday Eve morning came gray and cold. I laid out the evidence like a trial lawyer, statements highlighted, receipts in order, photos of jewelry, vacations, and pricey decorations I'd bankrolled. I made 12 identical packets, each topped with the article and my red-marked corrections. I dressed in my dark formal suit, the one I wore to Elena's funeral. This was a different kind of farewell. By 6:30 p.m., I parked near their Brookside Estates home, glowing with light and filled with cars. Through the window, I saw Clarissa playing hostess in the house my money bought. At 6:45, I walked up. The door was unlocked as always. She loved to brag about how safe their neighborhood was. Warm air and chatter met me as I stepped in. Margaret's voice floated from the dining room. "That's not how we do things in our family." I entered with my briefcase. 12 heads turned, faces shifting from surprise to dread. Clarissa froze mid-sip. Miguel's color drained. Henry and Margaret looked like they'd seen a ghost. "Good evening," I said, placing my case on the marble sideboard. "I hope you don't mind me joining your celebration." "Daniel, this is inappropriate. Leave," Clarissa snapped. "Actually," I replied, opening the case, "I think your guests deserve to know who really paid for this dinner, this house, and this life you've been showing off." A woman I didn't know, likely one of Margaret's charity friends, tilted forward. "What's he talking about?" Clarissa jumped in. "He's having home kind of breakdown. Miguel, call someone." But I was already circling the table, laying a packet in front of each guest. 5 years of mortgage payments, over $180,000, plus the down payment, renovations, appliances, everything you see here. The room fell into a tense hush as pages rustled. Eyes moved from dates to totals, expressions shifting from curiosity to disbelief. "This is," one man began. "Shameful," finished a woman across from him. "Clarissa, why didn't you say anything?" "It's not what it looks like," she stammered. "Daniel offered to help." "Actually," I cut in, sliding out a stack of printed articles. "Let's talk about what you told the press." The Chronicle story lay in front of them now, my photo under a headline painting me as a cruel, unstable man. Henry's color drained. Margaret froze, the wineglass forgotten. "This piece," I said, tapping it, "was planted using Henry's connections. Notice the blizzard that never happened. Notice the helpless, elderly victims who were really my former in-laws, on their way to a dinner I was banned from." A man in an expensive sweater looked up. "Henry, is this true?" "It's complicated." "Not really," I said. "They told people my food, my background, and my conversation weren't fit for their table." I slid over screenshots from Clarissa's own posts. Henry tried to bluster about my mental health, but his voice lacked conviction. I turned to the table. "These people took over $200,000 from me while insulting me behind my back. When I finally stopped, they tried to destroy my name in print." Miguel's voice was barely a whisper. "Dad, I didn't know about the paper." "Your wife did," I said quietly. "Her parents orchestrated it." The tide in the room had shifted, guests looking at Henry and Margaret with open disgust. An older woman in pearls shook her head. "This is exploitation, plain and simple." Margaret's voice was tight. "He abandoned us. After you told me I wasn't welcome because I'd embarrass you," I replied. "After 5 years of paying your bills." Silence spread like a frost. Clarissa made one last plea. "Everyone, please, this is a private matter." "No," I said. "You made it public. You tried to ruin me. I just gave your friends the truth." I closed my case. "Enjoy your dinner. It's the last one I'll ever buy." As I stepped out, voices erupted. Accusations, demands, the crack of a social mask breaking. It was the sweetest holiday music I'd ever heard. 3 months later, a certified letter arrived. Notice of default. Michael and Clarissa were $9,000 behind on payments. 14 days to pay or lose the house. Calls had been coming for weeks, her number blocked after the first hysterical message. Henry and Margaret now social exiles, Miguel calling more often, each time ignored. On day 97, he knocked in person. He looked 10 years older, creased suit, hollow eyes, desperation clinging to him. "Dad," he said softly, "we need to talk." I stepped aside, watching him take in my freshly painted walls and new furniture, the things I'd finally bought once I stopped paying for theirs. The upgrades in my home were the kind you buy when your money finally stays in your own pocket. "Nice place," Miguel said quietly. "That's what happens when you invest in yourself instead of people who think they're entitled to it," I replied, settling into my new recliner. "Coffee?" He shook his head, sitting stiffly on the couch's edge. "Dad, I'm sorry. About Christmas, about the article, about how we treated you." "Go on." "I didn't know Henry planted that story. When I found out..." He ran his hands through his hair. "God, the things they said about you. About Mom." I kept my voice even. "And what exactly did they say about your..." Silence hung between us. Outside, a mower droned. Ordinary life going on where fathers weren't exiled from holiday dinners. "The house is in foreclosure," he said finally. "I know. We can't keep up without..." He stopped himself. "Without my money," I finished. "The same money I spent for 5 years while you let your wife's family treat me like hired help. Do you know how much?" He nodded. "Isabella calculated it after Christmas. Over 200,000. 237,460 alms, I corrected. I added it up." He looked broken. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this." "You can't fix it. That money's gone. More importantly, those years are gone. Years we could have spent building something real." He swallowed hard. "Maybe we could start over." "Are you asking me to pay the mortgage again?" His eyes dropped. "We're going to lose everything. The house, her respect, her parents' approval. You'll figure it out. Just like I figured out how to live without a son who respected me." Tears welled. "I lost you, didn't I?" "You didn't lose me, Miguel. You gave me away." He wiped his eyes. "Is there any way you could forgive me?" "I forgave you months ago," I said, and meant it. "But forgiveness doesn't mean pretending this never happened, or funding your life again. If you want a relationship, you'll have to build it from scratch, show me respect. Make choices based on what's right, not what's convenient. And remember, if anyone tries to cut me out again, you'll know exactly who acts like family." He nodded slowly. "The house? Not my problem. Get a job that covers your bills, sell it, and downsize. Stop living beyond your means." He straightened his shoulders. "You're right about all of it. I know." At the door he turned. "Dad, seeing you stand up for yourself that night, I was proud, embarrassed and angry, but proud. Good. Maybe there's hope for you yet." After he left, I poured myself a glass of the good whiskey and stepped onto the porch. Spring was working its way into Spokane. I'd be 63 soon. Maria had been gone 8 years. I'd wasted 5 of those years as a doormat. I wouldn't waste another. A text came from Rosa. "Dinner Sunday. The kids want to show you their school projects." I smiled. I wouldn't miss it. Real families, I'd learned, are the ones who want you there. Everything else is just an expensive theater. And I was done buying tickets. The whiskey tasted like freedom. The future looked as bright as I decided to make it.